You think it's polite. You think it's kind. You think it makes you a good person. But every time you say those two words, "I'm sorry," you are performing an act of self-mutilation. You are handing your throat to the predator and asking them to be gentle. You are kneeling in a court where no one cares about your intentions. They only care about your position in the hierarchy. And when you apologize, you have just announced your position. You are beneath them. Picture it. Someone bumps into you on the street. Your mouth opens. "I'm sorry, you didn't do anything wrong." But the script in your brain is older than language itself. Apologize, submit, appease. Do not let the conflict escalate. Keep the peace. But what peace? The peace of a slave who has learned to stay quiet so the master doesn't raise his hand. Niccolò Machiavelli, the most misunderstood strategist in human history, saw through this illusion. He wrote The Prince not for the moral, but for the effective. He understood that in the brutal theater of power, perception is everything. And the moment you apologize without strategic cause, you have just declared to the world that you are defeatable, you are manipulable, you are weak. This is not about being cruel. This is not about refusing accountability when you have genuinely caused harm. This is about understanding the difference between owning your actions and groveling for approval. One is the posture of a king, the other is the posture of a beggar. And if you walk through life begging, do not be surprised when the world treats you like a beggar. Most people go through life in a permanent state of apology. They apologize for taking up space. They apologize for having needs. They apologize for existing in a way that might inconvenience someone else. This is not humility. This is a pathology. It is a wound that was carved into you as a child, and you have spent your entire adult life deepening it because you were told that this is what good people do. But let me ask you a question. When was the last time someone powerful apologized to you? When was the last time a CEO, a politician, a person of true authority said, "I'm sorry," and meant it without a PR team forcing the words into their mouth? They don't apologize because they understand what you have not yet learned. Apologies are for the powerless. Explanations are for the accused. Silence is for the sovereign. Your brain is wired to apologize. This is not a moral failing. This is biology. You are a social animal. Your ancestors survived not by being strong, but by being accepted by the tribe. If the tribe rejected you, you die. So your nervous system evolved a defense mechanism. When threatened with social exclusion, apologize, show submission, signal that you are not a threat. This kept you alive in the savannah, but you are not in the savannah anymore. You are in a boardroom, you are in a negotiation, you are in a relationship, and the rules have changed, but your brain has not caught up. Every time you apologize unnecessarily, you are following a script written for a world that no longer exists, and the people around you, whether they know it consciously or not, are reading that script. They are seeing a person who is uncertain of their value, a person who can be pushed, a person who will fold under pressure, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. They test you, they take more, they respect you less, not because they are evil, but because this is how humans operate. We are hierarchical creatures. We assess dominance and submission in every interaction, and your apologies are a signal that you are submitting. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. This does not mean you should be a tyrant. It means you should understand that respect is not born from niceness. It is born from boundaries, from the ability to say no without guilt, from the willingness to let conflict exist without immediately rushing to smooth it over. When you apologize reflexively, you are not keeping the peace. You are training the people around you that they can violate your boundaries without consequence. You are teaching them that if they just wait long enough, you will fold, you will apologize, you will take the blame even when it is not yours to take. There is a concept in psychology called the submission spiral. It works like this. You apologize once for something minor. The other person accepts your apology, but notes that you are someone who apologizes easily. The next time there is conflict, they push a little harder. You apologize again. Now they know the pattern. You are someone who will always fold, so they push harder. And you, because you have been conditioned to keep the peace at all costs, apologize again, and again, and again, until you are apologizing for things you didn't do, until you are apologizing for their behavior, until you are so deep in the spiral that you cannot remember what it feels like to stand your ground. And here is the cruelest part. The more you apologize, the less your apologies mean. You have devalued your own currency. When you finally do something that genuinely requires an apology, your words have no weight. They have heard you say, "I'm sorry," 1,000 times. Why would this time be different? You have cried wolf with your apologies, and now when you need to be taken seriously, no one listens. Machiavelli advised the prince to avoid being despised. To be despised means to be seen as weak, contemptible, someone who can be used without fear of retaliation. When you apologize constantly, you invite contempt, not because people are monsters, but because humans instinctively look down on those who cannot hold their ground. It is wired into us. We respect strength. We disregard weakness. And "I'm sorry" is the sound of weakness. So what is the alternative? Do you become a sociopath who never admits fault? No. You become strategic. You learn the difference between accountability and apology. Accountability says, "I made a mistake. Here is how I will fix it." Apology says, "I am a bad person. Please forgive me." Do you see the difference? One is focused on action. The other is focused on groveling for emotional approval. When you mess up, own it. State the fact. "I missed the deadline. I will deliver it by end of day." Do not add, "I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I'm such a mess." That is not accountability. That is emotional manipulation, disguised as humility. You are trying to make the other person feel sorry for you so they go easier on you. And maybe it works in the short term. But in the long term, you have just told them that you are unreliable and emotionally unstable. You have lowered your status. The powerful do not apologize for outcomes. They course correct. If a project fails, they say, "The approach didn't work. Here's the new strategy." They do not say, "I'm sorry, I let everyone down," because they understand that leadership is not about being liked. It is about being effective. And effectiveness requires the ability to make hard decisions without collapsing into shame every time something goes wrong. Silence is the weapon Machiavelli would have you master. When someone accuses you of something, your reflex is to defend yourself, to explain, to apologize if necessary to make them stop attacking. But here is what the master does. He says nothing. He lets the accusation hang in the air. He holds eye contact. He does not flinch. And in that silence, something extraordinary happens. The accuser becomes uncomfortable. They start to doubt themselves. They start to fill the silence with more words, weakening their own position. You have flipped the dynamic without saying a word. This is the power of the non-apology. You refuse to accept the frame. You refuse to step into the role of the defender. You simply exist, unbothered, unmoved. And that stillness, that refusal to react, is more intimidating than any defense you could offer, because it signals that you do not need their approval. You do not fear their judgment. You are operating on a different level entirely. But to do this, you must kill a part of yourself. You must kill the part of you that needs to be understood, the part of you that craves external validation, the part of you that will twist yourself into knots to avoid being seen as the bad guy. That part of you is a liability. It is a hook that others will use to control you. As long as that hook exists, you are not free. You are a puppet, and the people around you are pulling your strings with guilt, with disappointment, with the threat of withdrawal. Machiavelli understood that a prince cannot afford to be loved by everyone. If you try to please everyone, you please no one. You become a shapeless thing, constantly bending to accommodate the moods and demands of others. And in that bending, you lose yourself. You become a ghost, a reflection of what others want you to be. And when you finally look in the mirror, you do not recognize the person staring back. There is a story Machiavelli tells. A scorpion asks a frog to carry him across a river. The frog says, "No, you will sting me and I will die." The scorpion says, "Why would I do that? Then we would both drown." The frog agrees. Halfway across, the scorpion stings the frog. As they both sink, the frog asks, "Why?" The scorpion replies, "It is my nature. Some people will hurt you, not because you did something wrong, but because it is their nature. And if you apologize to them, if you try to win them over with kindness and submission, you are not changing their nature. You are just making it easier for them to sting you. Stop apologizing to people who have no intention of forgiving you. Stop apologizing to people who are using your guilt as a weapon. Stop apologizing to the world for existing in a way that does not fit their narrow expectations. You are not here to be convenient. You are here to build something. And building requires that you take up space, that you make noise, that you occasionally offend people who are too comfortable. The most dangerous thing you can do in this world is become harmless, because harmless means you can be ignored. And to be ignored is to be powerless. Machiavelli would rather you be feared, respected, even hated, than ignored, because at least then you are in the game. At least then you have leverage. But if you spend your life apologizing, smoothing over edges, making yourself small so others feel big, you are not in the game. You are the board. So here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, do not apologize. Not once. If you are late, say, "I'm here now. Let's begin." If you make a mistake, say, "Here's how I'll fix it." If someone is upset with you, let them be upset. Do not rush to soothe them. Do not perform emotional labor to manage their feelings. Sit in the discomfort. Let the tension exist and watch what happens. You will notice something strange. People will respect you more, not less. They will stop testing you. They will stop pushing your boundaries because they realize that you do not collapse under pressure. You hold your ground. And in a world full of people who apologize for breathing, the person who refuses to apologize becomes a gravitational force. People orbit around you. They defer to you, not because you are cruel, but because you are certain. Certainty is the rarest commodity in the modern world. Everyone is anxious. Everyone is second-guessing themselves. Everyone is apologizing. So when you walk into a room and you do not apologize, when you speak and you do not hedge your statements with softening language, when you make a decision and you do not immediately ask for validation, you stand out. You become unforgettable. You become someone people talk about when you are not in the room. This is not arrogance. Arrogance is insecurity dressed in expensive clothes. This is sovereignty. Sovereignty is knowing that you do not owe anyone an explanation for your existence. You are here. You take up space. You have need. You have boundaries. And you do not apologize for any of them. Machiavelli wrote The Prince in Exile. He had lost everything. His position, his power, his reputation. And in that darkness, he did not apologize. He did not beg to be let back in. He wrote, he thought, He distilled centuries of political strategy into a manual that would outlive every prince who ever read it. He turned his exile into immortality, not by apologizing, but by refusing to accept the narrative that he was finished. You are not finished. You are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to a life of constant apology, a life where you shrink to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, a life where you die having never said what you truly thought because you were too afraid of offending someone. The other path leads to a life of power, not power over others, but power over yourself, the power to say no, the power to hold your ground, the power to walk away from people and situations that demand you apologize for existing. The choice is yours, but once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you understand that every apology you make is a piece of your soul that you are handing to someone else, you cannot go back to the old way. You will feel the words rising in your throat. I'm sorry. And you will swallow them. You will hold the silence. You will let the discomfort sit. And in that moment, you will reclaim yourself. The world does not need more apologies. The world needs more people who know who they are and refuse to negotiate that identity for comfort. Be that person. Stop saying sorry. Start saying this is who I am. Take it or leave it. And watch how quickly the world rearranges itself to accommodate you. If this opened your eyes, subscribe, but not because I told you to. Subscribe because you are done performing for approval. You are done apologizing for taking up space. You are done being the one who always folds. The game has changed, and you are no longer playing by their rules.